I'm Sean Fennessey.
I'm Amanda Dobbins.
And this is 25 for 25, a big picture special conversation show about a little ditty about Jack and Diane. That's right, it's Nancy Meyers' time. And our pick is what, Amanda?
Something's Gotta Give.
Something's Gotta Give. Okay. I had a very high usage rate on Monday's episode of this podcast. And so it is time for Jesus to take the wheel. Jesus, Amanda.
Yeah.
This is a huge moment here for you. We're
It sure
citing
is.
25 perfect movies from this century. This is the Nancy Meyers choice.
This is the Nancy Meyers choice, and I think this is also the romantic comedy choice.
Well, that's a bit of a spoiler alert, but yes,
well,
for the list.
You never know.
Mm-hmm. I've been wondering if we should be citing, like, this is the last time you'll see this person or this kind of movie as we go down the list.
That would require, like, doing a lot of spreadsheet work,
Yes,
I suppose.
yes.
And that would also
Something I
require
enjoy.
being fixed to our picks, which, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone off script for the first time.
We have.
We weren't sure.
We weren't sure.
We weren't sure about what was originally in the 23 spot.
Mhm.
We were sure about Something's Gotta Give.
Yes.
So
this was never not going to be on the list.
right. It did get bumped down a spot, but that's okay.
Yeah, not really a qualitative choice.
Yeah, I'm not that worried about the difference between 23 and 22. So this is the Nancy Meyers movie. This, to me, is the only Nancy Meyers movie that would be eligible for the list.
I personally have a very strong affection for The Intern. That I know you like it, but don't love it in the same way that I do. I think this is ultimately better.
This is better. And this is also in the Nancy Meyers arc. This is the movie that catapults her, that kind of solidifies what it means to be a Nancy Meyers movie. The Intern's very good. Obviously stars your Anne Hathaway, your beloved Anne Hathaway.
Yes, and my Robert De Niro. My beloved
sure,
Robert
who's
De Niro.
just like bumbling around and is like, I'm an intern. And then like
You've just summed up the film.
falls in love with the masseuse.
Played by Renee Russo.
I know, which
who
is
among us?
Yeah, rude to Renee Russo, respectfully. It's good. I do also like that The Intern is basically like a sequel to Baby Boom, which is a 80s movie written by Nancy Meyers, directed by her then husband, Charles Shire, also starring Diane Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
I like it, but this is a self-contained masterpiece.
So this movie, like Baby Boom, like The Intern, does circle this idea that we make a lot of hay of on the show, which is, can women have it all?
Yeah.
You know, not just what do women want, which is a question that she asked a few films prior to this, but can women have a career, personal and private success, wealth, a family, and love,
and life experience. Can they be over 50 years old?
And sex.
And sex. Yeah.
And
all of those things.
This movie maybe most acutely zeroes in on life after 50 for a woman. Now, I will make the case, perhaps unsurprisingly, that this is one of the most sophisticated movies about life after 50 for a man. And I'd like to explore it with you, but I don't want that to be the primary driver of the conversation.
I think that's true. And that is why this movie makes the list and the others don't, is because all of the characters, well, at least the main two, Diane Keaton and Jack Nicholson, are fully realized. They are also played by Diane Keaton and Jack Nicholson, and just two lights out performances. You have Hollywood icons in their later stages of life, just really getting to be those people. So I agree with you. Then you have Keanu Reeves in a supporting role, which just takes my breath away every single time.
Yes, I have some thoughts about his character, who I will call Keanu Ex Machina for the remainder of this podcast.
Yeah, of course. But that's important.
It is.
You know?
It is.
And the classic, who's she going to choose? Who's better for her?
Yes. The Ralph
setup.
Bellamy of the film.
Yes. Exactly. Or the Aiden, if you will.
Sure.
A contemporaneous reference.
Got it.
So I agree. It's really good about Jack Nicholson's character. It's Keanu and Amanda Peet's character, Marin, and Frances McDormand's character are less baked, but it is also Keanu Reeves, Amanda Peet, and Frances McDormand.
Absolutely.
3-time Oscar winner.
Tremendous screen presences, all three of them.
Just there to give, like vague academic dissertations about the woman's experience. Special stuff.
Yeah, I think this movie is so successful because it feels so closely modeled on a strong personal point of view.
Yeah.
Was this movie made after she and Shire broke up?
I believe so.
So, I mean, it feels like a
Yes.
real post-divorce movie, a real kind of second half of my life. Who am I and what was my life
Right.
about? I think also, you mentioned Keaton and Nicholson's performances. I think it's that perfect meeting of performance and persona, that they both have these incredibly strong screen personas. Jack has this kind of louche, philandering, eternally young man-child,
Right.
like that's something that we think of when we see him kind of
Mm-hmm.
making mischief at the Academy Awards or, being a maniac in movies. And Diane Keaton, of course, is this kind of like anxious, brilliant, kind of eccentric pop personality who like could break at any moment, but also could like sweep you off your feet at any moment, kind of riffing on Annie Hall and everything that she embodied in that movie. And they're not like changing it. They're embracing it,
Mm-hmm.
making it work at a different phase of their life. It's also notable that, for Nicholson, this is his first movie after About Schmidt, which was kind of like his rejection of the Jack persona.
Right.
And you can feel him like jacking
Yes.
very hard in this.
Yeah.
And Diane Keaton, in the she has First Wives Club, which is this huge success in the mid 90s. And then what was her career really like in the late 90s and early 2000s?
She works with Shire and Meyers in Father of the Bride
Right.
and Father of the Bride 2.
Right.
And
playing the number 2, though, really, to Steve Martin.
Yes, absolutely. But, well, that's not fair. She's one of the 2 pregnant people in Father of the Bride Part 2.
That's true.
She does the work.
You're right. She has a bigger role.
And she does the iconic workout scene with Martin Short, which is all I could think about throughout 2 pregnancies.
That's true. Okay. That was all you could think about?
Anytime I tried to do a workout, I was just like, I didn't look as good as those people.
Okay.
Speaking of, pregnant women or non-pregnant women just wearing bumps.
Did we explore on our Nancy Meyers episode how old she was when she was pregnant with that child? Do we know?
So I think she's probably like mid 40s because there's a crucial part of Father of the Bride, the original, when he's having he's imagining that it's the tiny little Annie telling him he's getting married. Dad, I'm getting married. And it's like Diane Keaton says that she was this old. She was 22 when she had the
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
that made her much younger.
Exactly.
Yes.
So she could be like 45, 46.
Okay.
It's possible.
I mean, in the late 90s, at this stage of her career is really interesting because Father of the Bride Part 2 is 95. That's a big hit. Obviously, the Father of the Bride movie was a big hit.
Right.
First Wives Club is massive. Then she's in Marvin's Room, which is kind of like an Oscar bid with Leo and De Niro. And really a hallowed cast, but not really a big success.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep's in that too, right? Marvin's Room. I believe she is.
I think so.
Yeah, she is. On the poster,
Yeah.
Meryl Streep and Diane Keaton basically hugging Leo.
Yeah.
In 1987, she's in a movie called The Only Thrill, which is directed by Peter Masterson. And then doesn't make a movie for 3 years. Makes The Other Sister. And then she directs Hanging Up, which is written by Nora and Delia Ephron.
Right.
Then Town and Country in 2001, famous bomb. And I'll come back to the importance of Town and Country momentarily.
Saw both of those in the theaters, by the way.
Town and Country should have been amazing. Warren Beatty, Diane Keaton, Andy McDowell, and Gary Shandling from a script by Buck Henry. It's a terrible movie.
Yeah, things just don't work out.
And then a few years go by until Something's Gotta Give. She's in a huge down period in her career, probably the downest that her career has ever been on this like basically 7-year stretch since First Wives Club. Not that she's not making interesting movies, but not a box office star.
Right.
This movie is huge, though. Like, how successful was Something's Gotta Give?
It made $124 million domestic, which is, for a romantic comedy starring 2 people over 50, where, like, menopause is a punchline. Like, not unlike, we're not making fun of menopause.
Yeah.
They're making fun of birth control. And in 2003, and this movie makes $124 million domestically. Even more, so I think it's 265 worldwide.
Crazy.
It's like a classic December holiday release. Like, go take your whole family to go see the movie, written and directed by a woman about a neurotic over 50s playwright wearing turtlenecks. And people just ate it up. What a time.
So we always ask a couple of questions when we're doing this. So why did Something's Gotta Give make the list, aside from there needing to be a Nancy Meyers movie on the list because of how much we appreciate her on the show?
Right. Well, of the Nancy Meyers movies, I think it's the most important. As we just mentioned, it was absolutely like a phenomenon. And What Women Want, which was released in 2000, also made a lot of money, over 100 million domestic. But this kind of sets up the rest of the Nancy Meyers trajectory. This is why, like, All You Degenerates have the holiday. This is why we have It's Complicated, which is basically this movie made with different Oscar-winning actors.
Yep.
I love It's Complicated. We talked
I like
about
it too.
Yeah. But it's
more flawed.
This is the breakthrough. This, I think, is also so influential in terms of, I guess, romantic comedies or, frankly, garbage women, of movies about women of a certain age trying to have it all in life, both thematically and just visually. The language of the kitchens and the overstuffed couches and the hydrangeas that are usually blue and the like expensive prepared food stores and everything that we now do, and I think much to Nancy Meyers' chagrin, identify as like Nancy Meyers core, is genuinely like an auteurist cinematic vision. It is so specific, and so many people have failed to recreate it or tried to make a lot of money off of it. I'm like looking at you, Crate and Barrel. Like, it is truly influential.
I completely agree. I mean, it is visually, thematically recurring. That is a key part of the auteur theory, is that you are telling a certain kind of story with a certain kind of visual approach with a strong authorship on your stories and the story types. And she does it. I mean, you wrote here something very dramatic.
Okay.
Which is this is the last great studio romantic comedy.
Well,
this is a very strong statement. It's been 22 years since this movie came out.
But and I wrote with apologies too, and this is some real 25 for 25 spoilers here.
Okay.
So here are some movies that didn't make our list. Bridget Jones's Diary. Yes, it hurts me too. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. 13 Going on 30. 27 Dresses. The Wedding Planner. The Proposal. Forgetting Sarah Marshall. And the 4 other Nancy Meyers movies released in the last 25 years. I think that Something's Gotta transcends all of those.
I think that you're right.
Okay.
I think the thing that when I watch this movie, it is very clearly born of the 30s and 40s screwball style. It's just shifting the cast to people in their 50s and 60s and not in their late 20s and early 30s. It uses a lot of the similar framework that you would find in Philadelphia Story or in Bringing a Baby or in His Girl Friday or in all of those classics. We know Nancy Meyers has a huge admiration for those movies and is kind of like echoing them throughout her career. I think because of that, it works really well as homage and really well as also a contemporary story. Jack Nicholson's character is a hip hop label owner. Diane Keaton is an aging playwright of some renown. You know, the Hamptons home, or is it the Hamptons?
It
is.
Hamptons.
The Hamptons home feels very early aughts to me. It's sort of like before the Hamptons got completely out of control and was still like a wealthy person's enclave.
Yes. The address is given as Sagaponack. The exteriors were shot in a home in Southampton. The interiors were all designed. They're all sets.
By her.
Well,
presumably.
yes, by the Beth Rubino,
decorator.
who's the set decorator, but Nancy, oversees everything. She yeses every fabric.
Okay, so one of the things that I like about this movie is I don't even know if it is clearly a witting, but I don't know if it's a communicated love letter / indictment of Warren Beatty.
Yeah.
Diane Keaton worked with Warren Beatty 2 years prior in Town and Country. Nancy Meyers, of course, is familiar with Warren Beatty and admires his work. And the Jack Nicholson character seems like Jack.
Yeah.
But is in fact Warren. Almost literally Warren. The women that are cited as the famous people that the Jack Nicholson character dated or may have dated in the past, Joan Collins, Diane Sawyer, former paramours of Warren Beatty. The lifelong bachelor, the escape artist, as he's called in the movie, is very clearly modeled on, and the story is clearly modeled on Annette Bening, kind of like a successful artist in her own right, taming the Warren Beatty figure in the world. The fun part about this is that Jack Nicholson and Warren Beatty are like best friends. So this is like if I made a movie about Chris,
Yeah.
where I played Chris, which obviously we all know would be impossible. But if that were to happen, and I was exploring all the Chrisisms and how Chris became Chris and how Chris was tamed, would you want to see that movie?
Yeah, of course. She does this. She does this a lot. Like, she loves old Hollywood. Irreconcilable Differences, which is the hardest to see of the Nancy Meyers movie, is just the Peter Bogdanovich, Polly Platt breakup, but with ridiculous performances and also Drew Barrymore as a child suing for divorce, which then happened later for like what's it called? Emancipation, right? Child divorce from your parents, which
she then later pursued
in real life.
Yes.
Yeah, so they're, you know, Nancy Meyers has a spidey sense. She knows what's going on in the world, and she likes to put it into her movies, including also, by the way, the Erica Berry character, which is just Nancy Meyers written into. She's a playwright instead of a filmmaker.
Do you think this movie is saying that Nancy Meyers wants to marry Warren Beatty?
No, I don't. I think this movie is saying that Nancy Meyers did a lot of work after divorcing her husband and co-writer and director, and really likes, you know, nice overstuffed couches, and is trying to figure out how to be less uptight and open herself up to life.
I feel like this is a movie that could only happen in this specific period of time, which is one thing that I like about it. I think that the figure of like the old man dating the young woman is culturally now would be perceived as more of a creep fest. And in this movie, the idea that like, oh yeah, you dated my daughter, and oh, you didn't sleep with her, but it's okay, even though she's like literally astride him in the first 10 minutes of the movie. It's just one of those like could not have happened at any time after it. And so it's in a way kind of like a last remnant of this era of Hollywood.
Right.
You know, where like, wasn't it cool that Warren Beatty was bagging every chick in Hollywood until 1998 or whatever, and he decided to settle down and have children?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's still happening. I guess which is
definitely still happening.
Yeah, you wouldn't get the same New York Magazine piece called "The Escape Artist."
Yeah,
about
it wouldn't
the
be
person.
like, isn't this cute?
Sure.
How he decided to date a woman who's within 12 years of his age.
You do, however, get plenty of Erica Berry's dating the local Hamptons doctor. So this, you know, the woman of a certain age dating a handsome younger man who is just like really, really hot for her, and she doesn't understand it, is now very, very common and perhaps overdone in.
You think she invented this trope?
I don't think she invented it.
It's close.
But it is, you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a major, major part of the garbage women canon. And this is a really powerful one. Because like every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, should she choose Keanu?
I want to get to that.
Yeah.
That's something I'd like to explore with you. I think that this movie, forgive me for this, but kind of presages like, it's a twist on the MILF thing, which really took off post American Pie, which is 1999. But the like young man hot for older woman who's still a babe and still looks like Diane Keaton. You know, Diane Keaton famously has a nude scene in this movie, as does kind of sort of Jack Nicholson, who shows his ass.
Well, I think it's a double, but that's okay.
You think Jack is a double or
no,
Diane
I
Keaton?
think Diane is, but that's okay.
Oh,
There's some cutting when I was watching it this time, but listen, no judgment.
Were you freeze framing?
No, I was watching the camera work as I do.
I see. As you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you're well known to watch the camera work. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I thought that was.
I could be wrong. I mean,
okay.
that you definitely see her in in bra and underwear, like undressed. But I think like that moment, it seems like there's a little bit of cutting and someone with a wig. I could be wrong.
The movie has just a great relationship to sex. Like it's very. I've seen the movie get derided as sitcom-y at times, but I feel like sitcoms can't get into this area, can't get into the lane of like this epiphanic physical experience that an older woman is having. You never see stuff like that on TV. And also that it is like unusually physical for a movie like this. It's the one thing that all those 30s and 40s movies are all allusions to these kinds of acts. But like he's literally going down on her. They're literally in bed together.
Right.
And it is way more normalized then than it would be now. Like I'm trying to think of has there been a movie with like two 50-somethings in bed together in recent years? Even we were just talking about Black Bag recently on the show. There's something kind of like steamy but chaste about the relationship in Black Bag.
Right. I'm trying to think. Even in Something's Gotta Give, they are playing it for comedy. You know, there is the great moment where they have to stop at the beginning of the sex scene in order to check his blood pressure. And then instead of like a bra being thrown in the air, you get the shot of like what is the thing
strap,
called? The strap from the blood pressure strap, like being thrown. So they're making hay of it. And there is something about the fact like winking, oh ho ho, like we're watching two 50-year-olds have sex that tips it towards comedy rather than steaminess. You know, but they do make a joke about menopause. They do, you know, they are undressed for a lot of the movie.
Where are you at on menopause these days?
I'm not there, which I'm really happy to share with everyone.
That's great.
So
in general, what do you make of it?
You know, it seems like with everything that happens to women, there's not enough, you know, medical research and support directed that way. But maybe by the time I get there, you know?
How do you feel about the meta aspect of the story where Erica Barry, who is a thinly veiled version of a Nancy Meyers figure, is literally thinly veiling her life and her experiences in a play in the movie that she's making? Now, normally I find when I see things like this in movies and I like them, you're like, why are you such a
I like meta stuff.
Bro?
No, of course that she's commenting on who she is. I like this as autobiography, and I think some of what elevates it from a sitcom and also from your classic, you know, like goofy rom-com is this very experienced and also very anxious person investigating her life and how she is in the world and what she does and the consequences of what she does in real time with like a multi-million-dollar budget. And I like that it still has a sense of humor about it. You know, this movie does have like a lot of speeches and, as you said, characters realizing things. It's not therapy speak. Like we haven't gotten there in the world where everyone just has to be like talking to each other about like their trauma and whatever boundaries and healing. They speak like people, intelligent people who are trying to figure things out about themselves. Yeah. But still sort of almost in that like playwriting human mode. It's a human way of communicating. So I like that, but I like that you can also tell she's really thought about it and she's thought about, you know, her relationship to her work and she's thought about why she dresses the way she does. Like the turtlenecks as a motif and it's in the text, like they explain it for you, but it still is very clever. There's that throwaway line when they're in the kitchen and she's talking about how she's always wanted to write a play that ends in Paris. She's like, because people need romance. And if I don't write it, where are they going to get it? Real life. And that's obviously like Nancy Meyers communicating as well, but it's true and it's nice. And then the movie does end in Paris. And also, because it's 2003, it actually ends in Paris. So that's also wonderful and remnant of a time where they just sent movie stars to Paris to film on the streets at night.
Okay, let's talk about the film's legacy. You've already mentioned that the movie has earned a great debt from Crate and Barrel and
J. Crew, Coastal Grandma Chic. I mean, that was a TikTok thing. Were you familiar with that?
I was not. I'm not on TikTok, as you know.
I'm not either, but then they posted it to Reels for all the old people. Okay. So we appreciate you. Yeah, so, you know, people, young women wearing just the cream-colored sweaters, the bucket hats, but like a direct visual reference to those beach walks.
Do you think you'll age into that chic?
I mean, I definitely already wear a lot of white jeans, you know, or like cream-colored pants. I do have a bucket hat, but I don't know if I'm going to go monochrome cream with the bucket hat. That's probably not where I am.
Bucket hat?
It's pink.
Like Tony Yayo.
And and my son has a matching one, and we wear it at the beach.
Also known to wear a bucket hat.
Yeah. So
I only know rappers who wear bucket hats.
Okay. Well, they had a moment like a few years ago. I don't think that I'll be going this way. I'm more of a navy than cream.
Diane Keaton wears a bucket hat in this film?
I honestly think she wears more than one. I think that there are distinct bucket hats, but yes, she does.
I'll tell you something. The other 2003 thing about this movie that is related to bucket hats is the use of Crazy Town's Butterfly.
The movie opens with Crazy Town Butterfly, and then like just a montage of very 2003 looking women like striding into clubs, bars, restaurants, hailing cabs, looking like very
just off frame in that montage is me in before them. Little known fact. Did she know what she was doing when she dropped Crazy Town in this movie?
No, absolutely not.
She didn't know that this would be an incredible meme.
No, I don't think so. And I like wonder if she still does.
I have some concerns about her relationship to hip hop in general.
Yeah, it's not great. I would not say that the parties portrayed, even fleetingly, are culturally sensitive. And you know, Diane Keaton gives that speech in the fake Barefoot Contessa store. Do you know also that that's like, it's not the Barefoot Contessa store, but you know that the Barefoot Contessa started as a prepared food store in the Hamptons. And then she started writing cookbooks. That's Ina Garten.
Yes. I did not know it started as a store.
Yeah, so I think
Does that store still exist or no?
I think she sold it at some point. I
see. Okay.
Or I don't.
But it was inspired by.
Yeah. Okay. That's the vibe that we're going for.
And Ina Garten also an icon in your life.
Yes, and a Hamptons icon. Just to keep you on the level here.
Okay, understood.
Anyway, she gives a speech there about how she's not really into rap music. That is not
how many words can you rhyme with bitch?
Yeah,
I believe is the line of dialogue.
I would not say it's the most enlightened.
Not my favorite part of the movie. I think that she has a knack for characterization that looks easy but is really hard.
Yeah.
Setting aside the hip hop line in general, the Erica Barry character is like presents as like pretty modern. I think when the movie starts and Jack is in the kitchen in the refrigerator, and Frances McDormand and Diane Keaton come home, and we see his feet underneath the refrigerator, and she thinks that there's an intruder in the house, and then we quickly learn that it's her daughter's boyfriend. You think that the engine of the movie is going to be how unacceptable it is that her crazy daughter keeps dating older men.
Right. And
she's kind of cool with it.
Yeah.
She's like, not my first choice, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's a 911 punchline. It's like she's like, it's worse. He's dating my daughter. Right, and then they hang up. Right. Yeah.
Which I find to be refreshing. Like it doesn't like lean on the obvious ticks of the structure.
I mean,
maybe she's just had some experience in this mold. I don't know.
No, it ultimately just becomes a problem about the Erica Barry character makes it about her, which is fine because like the movie's about her. But it is a little bit narcissistic also from a different vantage point. It's like, well, she doesn't really seem that worried about her daughter. She's just kind of like, well, what does it say about me that I'm home at night? You know?
I hadn't thought about that, but that's a really good point.
I don't know. Sometimes when you're a filmmaker or a writer, you gotta write what you know. You gotta bring it back to you. But that's okay.
I like that. I think that the other tricky legacy of this movie is that what you cited earlier, which is that a lot of people thought they could do this.
Yeah.
And so there is like a kind of high grade imitation that a lot of great filmmakers this century have that. You know, like Michael Bay has the Michael Bay imitators in the 2000s, where you've got a lot of guys who are trying to make action movies that look like Michael Bay movies. All Michael Bay movies are stupid, but they're wonderfully stupid.
Right.
Most of the other movies are just stupid. What is the like legacy in that respect of the Nancy Meyers ripoffs?
I mean, as with all other things, it's frustrating because everyone thinks that they can do it, and they also think they can do it for less money and with less talent. And so then you get imitators and you get things that are not as well written or not as thoughtful or not as idiosyncratic for like, I mean, this is both, you know, like a very broad comedy with like a great punchline about the back of a hospital gown, you know, and Jack Nicholson's butt hanging out, which I thought about every single time I have had to wear those in the last 10 years. And
not a butt double for Jack, you don't think?
No, but then they have all of the fake butts
and the
with
dancing jacks.
The dance, which is just really funny.
It's a great bit.
And again, like the movie is filled with those little moments, whether it's like You're a Woman to Love and the Dancing Henrys or the performances that are just like they have. Frances McDormand has won 3 Oscars, you know, and she's just like at the farmer's market, like ogling Keanu Reeves because it's funny. So there's a quality here in the writing, in the filmmaking, certainly in the production design, and the visuals aspect of a film that I often think gets taken for granted.
Mm-hmm.
That then people are just like, well, we'll just like get a white couch and, hire some like people we saw on TV once, and they can fall in love and like think you can compete with Something's Gotta Give.
Yeah.
And so you just get the lesser versions, and they're lesser in quality, they're lesser in writing. They are definitely, the budgets just get much smaller, to the point that Nancy Meyers did not get to make her most recent movie because these things do actually cost money.
Yes.
And just the budgets have been totally shifted. So that's a real shame. I can tell the difference, and most people can. And I'll still watch the garbage stuff, but I don't, we have Garbage Women. That's because people are trying to do this. This is not Garbage Women. This is excellence.
This is one of the very last Jack Nicholson performances.
Yeah.
After this film, a few years go by, and he makes The Departed in 2006. Legendary movie in many ways. The Bucket List in 2007. And How Do You Know in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that's a James L. Brooks film, the most recent James L. Brooks film until this fall when Ellen McKay comes out. And I believe Ellen McKay is the first James L. Brooks movie not to star Jack Nicholson in some time, because he appeared in How Do You Know? Mm-hmm. He appeared in As Good As It Gets. He appeared in Broadcast News.
Right.
He appeared in Terms of Endearment. What am I forgetting? What's the one with Julie Kavner? That's the one I'm forgetting that he's not in. Anyway, this is a fascinating use of his screen persona.
You forgot Spanglish.
Spanglish? Is he in Spanglish? He's not in Spanglish.
No, he's not in Spanglish.
I forgot Spanglish because I really, really don't like Spanglish. And I love James L. Brooks, so it pains me. And I love Adam Sandler, and it really pains me that I don't like Spanglish. Anyway, he's at the end of his career here.
Yeah.
This is not, and this is really also a movie about his mortality. He has multiple heart attacks in this movie. He's literally on a gurney like 4 times. Near the end of the movie, needs to leave the country and go find a way to get free from his own anxieties so that he can get in better health.
Multiple Viagra jokes.
He's trying very hard to stay sexually active into his 60s. Seems challenging, at least for this character. I'll report back in 20 years. And it's a really fascinating use of him and his, I think his willingness to be a buffoon who's still like a representation of greatness. You know what I mean? He has this ability to be so ugly and strange and silly and disgusting and still maintain this essential Jack power. That the reason that the movie ultimately works is it's beautifully written and the production design is great and all the things you're saying are all true.
Right.
But it's leveraging 35 years of movie history in the two stars against each other to elevate it, to raise it. And so if you keep copying movies like this, but you don't use people who have this,
right,
you don't have this great movie.
I mean, even Nancy Meyers tries with It's Complicated, which is Meryl Streep, 3-time Academy Award winner Meryl Streep. She's won 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And this time she lives in Santa Barbara, and she, instead of being a playwright, she runs the prepared food store. She owns Dean and DeLuca, and then she's trying to decide between her ex-husband and Steve Martin, the architect.
Mm-hmm.
But there you have Meryl Streep, and you have Steve Martin, one of the greatest comedic performers, and Alec Baldwin, who's a really good third guy in movies. I mean, he's great. We love Alec Baldwin, but he's not.
I think
Jack
he's
Nicholson.
among the best parts of the movie. It's weird though, but he's playing the Jack part. One of the things with It's Complicated, which I think is really good, and I'm a huge Steve Martin fan, is he's just not that sexy. You know what I mean? There's not. It doesn't have the same heat. This movie has legitimate heat between these two characters. You really want to see them end up together. My one gentle demerit on the movie is Keanu is incredibly handsome.
I don't do it.
But the character is
but it's funny. That's the point.
Okay.
That's the point.
This guy goes all the way to Paris. He's got the ring.
Yeah.
He's
and they just don't open it in front of,
But he's ready to turn his life over to this lady who he's infatuated with.
He turns his life over several times. She stands him up.
Right.
She stands him up because Amanda P just does not have her shit together.
No.
But that is a funny character.
No. But that seems real.
Yeah, that seems real.
I would hate to be Nancy's daughter in that situation.
And then he's just gone until Frances McDormand spots him at the farm stand, like you do.
Yep.
And he brings the flowers back and he says, "These are for you to give to me to apologize." Great line. Really good. And then she writes a whole play, like probably a Tony-winning play, about how Jack's character broke her heart.
Uh-huh.
And he's sitting there on the couch being like, "This is the best thing you've ever written." So he clearly knows what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then after being like, "This is the best thing you've ever written," is like, "Okay, now let's have sex again."
Mm-hmm.
So he has no value system besides thinking she's the hottest person in the world, and also like being a single doctor in the Hamptons.
Uh-huh.
He's not a real person. Yeah, of course, that's the point.
John Wick is a wonderful doctor in the Hamptons with no reconstructive knee surgery or bullet holes to speak of. And he's obsessed with a woman who's 15 to 20 years older than him. And when they get to Paris and he's getting ready to close the deal for good forever.
Right.
Eternal happiness for him until she dies. He gets one look at a flirty conversation with a sad old guy who flew to Paris alone. And he's like, "You know what? I got to throw in the towel. It's not about me. This isn't about me."
I agree that it's
Sir,
totally...
what? Off screen? You decided that?
I mean, I agree that he gives up too soon. And it's...
Put up a fight,
it's
dog.
It's so powerful every time he shows up that I'm like, "Oh, are we sure she shouldn't just pick him?" And like Jack is so powerful. But that scene with the three of them in the waiting room. No, in the waiting room. When you first meet Keanu and it's like Amanda Peet to Frances McDormand to Diane Keaton, and they're all just like making that's purposeful that he is like too good to be true. Like he's just a made up, and the reaction shots and how into him they all are is very funny.
I love him as a screen presence throughout the movie. I think his performance is really good. Keanu has gotten a hard time over the years for not being a good actor. I think he's really good at this kind of light comedy.
Really, really funny.
The character off screen being like, "My bad, you guys should figure this out," is like a lot. That's a lot to accept at the end of the movie. This is a wonderful movie. I really wish that there were more movies like this. I wish that like movie stardom was more about this. I think that's something that we obsess over a little bit on the show, which is like using your powers for good, using your powers to make like entertainments that are high level, but not defined by what it is that they're adapting or eventization. This is a movie about the writer director and the two movie stars,
right?
And their ability to connect on screen and how much you love them. Also, we neglected to cite that, while Town and Country was the Diane Keaton reunion with Warren Beatty, this is the first time I think that Jack and Diane Keaton are on screen together since Reds. If people haven't seen Reds, one of my single favorite scenes in movie history is between Diane Keaton and Jack Nicholson, who plays Eugene O'Neill in the film, when they are sort of breaking up, when they are realizing that they're not going to be able to be together and that John Reed is actually the man that she is meant to be with. And it's this, really like emotionally complicated sequence about why two people can't be together, which is sort of what this movie is about until it isn't. And so the tone of Reds is completely different from Something's Gotta Give, but just like the arc of a career and people really knowing each other and being able to be on screen together and have that thing that these two people have, it starts all the way back in 1980, well before Nancy Meyers is even a filmmaker at that point, really. She's still just a writer at that stage of her career. So just a pocket recommendation for Reds.
Whatever we got to do to get you on board. If it's Reds, Something's Gotta Give.
I'm in. I always like this movie. I saw this movie in theaters. I always liked it. I think this was what we ranked number one when we did we do a rankings for her when we did the Nancy Meyers episode?
I think so. Yes. Or did we do Hall of Fame? I don't know. This is it. This is
you think
this
over
is
the Parent Trap? You think
I do, and absolutely over the Holiday. Which, like, if you are mad because this made it in instead of the Holiday, like, go get a life and go learn something.
The Holiday is the best extended 14-hour miniseries of that year. Yeah, it's the longest movie ever made. It's Kieslowski's The Decalogue.
It's fine. It is
Holiday.
Nowhere near the quality of this movie.
What would you recommend if you like this movie?
Annie Hall.
Yeah.
Obviously. Heartburn for some dastardly Jack.
Yes.
But also, that movie is written by Nora Ephron. The next movie on my list is You've Got Mail, which was also written and directed by Nora Ephron.
I had forgotten how much email was a part of this story.
Exactly.
And
but
give.
Excuse me, AIM Instant Messenger.
Instant Messenger.
Yes, which is also an important part of You've Got Mail. And even the sort of
That's what I meant.
the way you're thinking before you type the response.
It's all been replaced by texting in films.
Right,
and
exactly.
The ellipsis.
But I do also think, we don't have a Nora Ephron movie on this list. I'm really sorry, because all the great ones came out before 2000.
Was Lucky Numbers a Nora Ephron movie?
I think Julia and Julia was eligible, but only half of that movie really works for me. So,
okay.
But there is, kind of like there was a time when Nora Ephron and Nancy Meyers were writing and directing actually like great big budget studio romantic comedies. And so if you like the Nora Ephron entrance, like this will speak to you as well. Broadcast news, we already mentioned, but there's the James L. Brooks overlap and the Jack Nicholson overlap.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you are one of those people that's like, oh, I love the holidays so much, and you've never seen this movie somehow, please check it out.
Okay. Are there any other classics that you would recommend? Because I do feel
I thought about Philadelphia Story for the same reason of the three and the and a nice house.
Does that mean that Keanu is the Cary Grant in the movie?
I don't think so.
Keanu is the Jimmy Stewart?
That's what I would
I guess
think.
He's the man who comes to town.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. It's a wonderful movie.
Yeah.
Great pick. You feel like it's too low?
No, I think it's good.
Okay.
I feel like, you were very stressed out about like 4 versus 6 versus 7 versus 12. And I think that this
what do you mean?
When we were making the list, like the number by number seemed very stressed to you. And I'm kind of like, this is the 20 to 25 bucket. I also, we're bringing people in. At 25 through 20, we want to surprise people. We want to get as wide a range and audience as possible.
Before going more chalk?
No, I just, it's important to really get people's attention with the first few picks. And this will get people's attention because people like it. And maybe people who have not been that interested in the project thus far, maybe we'll find a new audience.
Sure.
Okay.
The best thing about this project is that it's evergreen.
Yeah.
So many of the shows that we make are like, oh my God, a Minecraft movie made $300 million. And then that is the dumbest podcast of all time, 8 days later.
Mm-hmm.
This is something you can return to if you want to watch Something's Gotta Give. Thanks to our producer, Jack Sanders. Later this week, we'll be previewing the Cannes Film Festival and the lineup there, which Amanda will not be attending because she's a coward. And Chris Ryan and I will discuss Warfare, which is a deeply upsetting combat film. We'll see you then.